welcome both Director Liang Chen and Mr. Charles Foster.
I'm going to introduce Director Liang, but I want to introduce two other individuals, just taking personal privilege. As Wendy says, I'm an immigration lawyer. I head the largest immigration firm in Texas called Foster LLP. We have many clients, but one of those clients is right here, Rice University. We represent professors and teachers. But I also want to take a personal privilege to introduce my wife, Lily Chen. Stand up. Introduce your wife, but in this case more so because Lily's made more than 20 films in China. She came here to be discovered by Hollywood, but I discovered her first. And I also want to take this opportunity, I'm talking about Japan, to introduce the Consul General of Japan. If you will stand up. It's my privilege to introduce Director Liang. You've seen his film. He was born in China, but he was raised in Japan. I think that's why the Consul General of Japan is here. He's not only a director, but as you can see in the film, he's a remarkable actor, and he started as a child prodigy at the age of 5 in a television film. He's won many awards.
梁真导演已经获得了这部影片获得了16个奖。最近他还有其他影片一共获得了到现在为止36个奖，加起来是将近70个国际大奖。所以我们欢迎梁真导演。
我还是站起来说话比较好。刚才大家看了我的电影啊，给我鼓掌，我非常非常的感动，非常非常的感激。来了很多朋友啊，比如说像徐红军老师啊，我很尊敬的铁梅大姐，罗琳姐姐，还有我的好朋友夏琳和她的先生，包括日本总领馆的领事，我非常的感谢你。但是呢，其实呢，我也真觉得我应该拍一些很刺激的、很惊险的、很烧脑的电影啊，给大家。这样的话，大家茶余饭后呢看看这个电影，哎，特别开心啊，觉得或者怎么样。或者说呢，我觉得我应该拍一些能够很赚钱的、票房非常好的电影。那么能够拍这样的电影呢，能够让我自己的生活过得舒坦一些。哎，我很实惠。但是呢，很遗憾，我偏偏就喜欢去拍一些反映揭露社会底层小人物的影片。拍这样的影片呢，我觉得从本质上来讲，其实很打扰我的情绪。但是我希望这种影片不要去影响大家的情绪。
So I'll translate real quick. Director Liang Chen shared that he really appreciated your attention today, but he doesn't view himself as a remarkable or successful director per se. He feels like he really should have done some action movies, entertaining movies, funny movies, or commercial movies just to make money and to make everybody happy. However, he just loves to pay attention to marginalized people, to look at the people who are kind of overlooked by the mainstream society and really understand their feelings.
然后呢，我想讲这个电影当中呢，大家可能比较注意的是这个男主角林肯。他呢，其实是一个混迹于美国社会啊，就是很多年的这么一个老移民。我差点说错了，说老流氓，其实不是老移民了。我们看得出来，他是经历了很多很多的风风雨雨，什么样的苦他都经历过了。但是不管他在这种毫无目标的生活当中，他还是保留着少年般的善良和纯真。其实，在我们生活当中，我们会看到很多我们在美国的这些中年人啊，他就是有一颗少年般的善良真诚的心。
The main character, Lincoln, which is played by him, basically, he is the older generation immigrant from China to the US. And he's pretty messed up in his life. And he basically spent half of his day in the underground kitchen, in the restaurant, and half of the day in bed, which is pretty boring. And you can say he's a loser, but you can also see that at this age, he still has that naiveness and that pureness that you usually find in young people, which is amazing.
纽约唐人街啊，那个人行道的边上有2块，那个地上有2块铁板，上面带一把锁的。 这块铁板打开以后，下面是一个台阶，这个台阶走下去以后呢，就是那个中餐馆的那个厨房。然后他上班的时候呢，就是把这块铁板合上，然后上一个锁的。有看到过的吗？有看到过这个啊。在这样的地方上班，你们走下去的话，就是经常会看到5个、6个、7个、8个，甚至10几个当然那个中餐馆有大有小的，这个就在里面工作室，根本见不到天日的。所以我认识一个厨师跟我讲过，他说：“哎呀，我已经多久没有看到太阳，也不知道我有多久我没有抬头看到月亮。”这些人刚来美国的，他很多年他没有休息的，他年中无休的，年中無休。新しい移民来アメリカの人は，他没有休息天的，他一年就是每天都在工作，偶尔有一天他被休息的那一天，他就是不睡觉。
He shared an anecdote of his experience in New York of how those cooks in Chinese restaurants are like. Obviously, a lot of them are undocumented immigrants, like the main character Lincoln. So if you guys have seen in New York, there's a lot of like on the street, you all of a sudden see like an entrance to the underground, locked up by some metal doors. And if you have seen that, you would know that it goes to an underground kitchen that mostly belongs to a Chinese restaurant. And in that very tiny space, you got 8, 9, 10, 11 cooks. They haven't seen the sun or even the moon for many years. And they don't have weekends, they don't have Christmas. And those days that they take off, they just sleep all day. They don't have much of a life. So those are the people that inspired him for this role.
然后呢，我们接着讲的快一些，讲那个小雪啊，这个年轻人，因为他呢属于是新一代的移民，跟老一辈的移民有点不一样，因为是年龄、社会的这种阅历啊，包括他受的教育不同，就是说，可能60、70年代来美国的和现在2000几年来美国的人不一样。但是这些人他们相同的就是我不甘心屈服于命运，我想改变自己的生活，这个是所有的移民都是相通的。但是呢，他们就是因为受的教育、地域、社会问题，包括年龄啊这些东西有很大的差异。我们这儿上海人有吗？有南方人吗？上海人有一句话就讲，少了一眼乡下人的淳朴，多了一眼城里人的精明。就是说，普通话讲就是少了一份农村人的淳朴，多了一份城里人的精明。这个就是我个人认为是现在的新移民和老一代移民的这个差别。那么还有呢，就是说一个老移民，你拿到美国绿卡了，房子也很大，赚了很多钱了，碰到一个小姑娘，20来岁、30来岁的，30来岁不是小姑娘，20来岁小姑娘，对不起，不好意思，那个一看说，没身份，我爱上她了，这个事儿司空见惯，我觉得我们身边太多这样的事儿，这个能够理解的。但是这个小雪，如果她真的拿到绿卡了，你们觉得她能和这个林肯真的白头到老过下去吗？
不可能，不可能。
你看，老移民都这么说的，那像就是。
That's a little too much for me to translate. Okay. So for the young main character, Xiaoxue, the one that tried to fake a marriage with him, so that character is to show that despite the generation gap and the difference in values and backgrounds and upbringing, they all want to change their life for better. It's quite common for somebody who, middle age and got a green card to fall in love with some young girl who recently come to the US, doesn't know anything and doesn't have a green card. And we just can relate to that a lot in our own experience and observations. But to be honest, it's very hard. In this movie, you can see Xiaoxue, she didn't get a green card. She got rejected twice, which is why she decided to go back to China. And she probably will never be allowed to come back again. But even though she gets her green card, do you really think that she's going to end up marrying Lincoln and live happily ever after? Probably not, right? It's all that gap we have. But see, the different generations, they have something in common, and they have some huge differences. That's what it's trying to say.
最后呢，我是非常感谢那个 Nancy。 Nancy 呢扮演的 Nancy 请站一下好吧？那个 Nancy 扮演的这个都理解，她扮演的非常非常的好，从一个跨越了这个那个年龄的这个跨度啊，然后最后扮演一个得了老年痴呆症的有点轻微老年痴呆症的一个妈妈。我每次看到她抱着这个女儿的时候，我都鼻子酸酸的，我真的很感动，她演得非常非常的好。冬梅姐这个人物呢，就是说，其实我是很敬佩很多成功的女士的，就是她们在自己的专业领域啊，通过超凡的毅力和努力得到了这个成功啊，就好像科学家，就像我的这个好姐姐夏琳女士一样的，她是一个科学家。那个比她更成功的，就像举个例子，就像那个吴健雄，大家知道吴健雄，哥伦比亚大学的那个吴健雄女士，那个她的这个定力最后是造成了这个杨振宁和李政道的这个得到了诺贝尔奖的。那么这样，因为我自己本身我老家是苏州人，所以我很喜欢、很尊敬吴健雄这样一个女士。但是呢，在我们这种金字塔结构的这个社会阶层的这个结构当中呢，我们绝大多数的人是只能待在金字塔的底层。那么这个电影当中的冬梅姐，她就是处于这么一个状态、这么一个现状的这么一个人。其实呢，在剧本当中呢，她和她的老公都是在中国师大学毕业，但是受到了一胎化，包括尊男轻女的这种影响啊，传统思想的影响，所以他们几次迁美国想来念书来，都拒签了。最后他没办法，他铤而走险，他只能突读。那么，所以她在失去老公、失去孩子，最后她把这个孩子生下来以后，她做出的选择就是，这是一个无可奈何的选择。她说：“我把这个孩子送人吧。”我要给这个孩子制造一个非常优秀、优异的一个教育环境。他这个孩子送给了老外，然后考上了哈佛医学院啊。但是你们有没有注意到，当他和孩子见面的时候，这个女儿她没有说中文，她说的是英文哦，她讲的是英文。她说 ：“Mom, thank you, give me the life。”谢谢你给了我生命，这是确深深的一句话，仅此而已。我的脑子里想过这么一首诗：春蚕到死丝方尽，蜡炬成灰泪始干。终其一生所付出的努力，想去达到的目标，得到的东西你不一定是真的得到的，但是失去的一定是真正的失去。这个就是这个片子里面讲的一个内容。谢谢大家。
Thank you so much. So for the third character that Director Liang Chen mentioned, which is Sister Dong Mei, the woman who lost her husband and daughter during the crossing of Rio Grande into the U.S. So first, big applause to Nancy for being a great actress. This is so amazing. Always tears in my eyes when I see that reunion of Dong Mei and Joyce. When she first had Joyce, which is that second daughter, she chose to put her to adoption because she knows that this is the only best way, even though it means that she's losing this child. In the actual script, which may be not obvious in the movie, Dong Mei and her husband, the guy who died in the river, they're both college students. And you know, in China, there's that one-child policy 20 years ago, and you have a daughter, you get pregnant again. And the other thing is they really want to get a U.S. education themselves, which is why they apply for a student visa, get rejected, and so they decided to just cross over. She lost a lot of things, and she really lost them. And she feels like she gets something, like Joyce's education and success, but that's not really her success. It's a tragedy, right?
Thank you. So I've been asked to make a few comments. I'll keep them brief, not as a film critic, although I am one, sort of, but as an immigration lawyer. And as an immigration lawyer, I saw the film in sort of technical terms, and I'll comment on a few of those. On retrospect, the group of Chinese immigrants made a huge mistake. First of all, the cartel smugglers brought them to the river's edge. Their greatest value is actually getting them across the river into the interior of the U.S. That's the difficult part. It's not crossing the river. That's relatively easy. It's getting past the checkpoints into the interior. That's number one. Number two, it was very accurate in that the river is very dangerous. People die every day on the river, and our governor, Governor Abbott, I can say this because we used to be in the same law firm, he's made it more difficult in a very small section of the border, putting in barbed wire, buoys, and people, as a result of that, have actually drowned. The other mistake I would say that the group made from China, they shouldn't have had to cross the river. They should have gone to the port of entry. That's what's happening right now. And made a credible, we call it credible fear claim for asylum. They would have been released into the U.S. They could have applied 6 months later for an employment authorization document and would not have to run that risk. In the movie, you see the smuggled alien, Chinese immigrants in the back of the truck. That normally takes place on the U.S. side. And I'm sure many of you have read that unfortunately many, particularly in the Texas heat, have died of suffocation.
所以 Mr. Foster 作为一个世界顶级的移民律师，他讲到他看了这个电影之后，他有一些关于这个偷渡事情的一些看法。第一个呢，就是这个电影是聚焦到在这个过河的时候的悲剧，这确实是一个悲剧。现在每天都还有人在河上被淹死，而且我们德州的州长呢，现在在这个河上架设了浮球。那么其实除了这个以外，我们还有别的方式可以去想，比如说这些人，他们其实可以通过 checkpoint 关卡来进入美国。如果他们这样做的话，他们其实是可以讲明自己是难民，过6个月之后再以某种方式申请难民签证，这是一个办法。
I'm going to comment on the character's Lincoln. He surprised me when he produced a U.S. passport because I was thinking, how is that possible? You enter illegally, you're doing low-skilled work. So there's only one legal explanation that I'll give the director, and that is he came here a long time ago. Under President Reagan, we passed the '86 Legalization Act, and he could have legalized undocumented population. Many people who crossed illegally, including many Chinese working in Chinese kitchens in New York. I worked with Ben Kim, who had the best immigration practice in Chinatown, so I was very familiar with that. So that could have happened under the '86 Legalization Act. When I was senior advisor to President George W. Bush, we thought we were going to pass another broad-based comprehensive bill, but nothing really has passed since '86. So that must have been the answer, how he did that.
当 Mr. Foster 看到这个主角林肯居然拿到美国护照的时候，他觉得简直不可思议，因为像这种人的话，怎么可能成为美国公民呢？但是后来他就想，可能是因为86年大赦，因为这个法案确实是允许像他这样偷渡来但在美国长期从事这样工作的人是能够拿到绿卡的。当 Mr. Foster 做小布什的 Policy Advisor 的时候，他们也在讨论通过另外一个类似的法案。但是呢，后来这个事情就不了了之了。
Okay, my last comment deals with the young, attractive lady, Xiaoxu. And all of those issues I'm very familiar with. She was a victim of fraud. The school itself was not a legitimate school. At that time, it would have been the Immigration and Naturalization Service. Today, ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, will figure that out, and they rolled back everything that went on. All the people that thought they got a benefit, they lose that benefit. That's not surprising. Now, my last comment is on the marriage itself. Lincoln, being a good guy, created the illusion that he had a marriage, and as a U.S. citizen, petitioned for his wife, and on that basis, she could qualify because she made a legal entry, and through a bona fide marriage with a U.S. citizen, you can qualify. Now, immigration officers that went to the house, that's what we call a bed check, and that really does go on, but not as often as you think. When Lincoln and Xiaoxu sat down for their interview, the examiners, CIS examiners, I know all these guys, I've known them for years. They believed before Lincoln and Chauncey said a single word that they were getting ready to lie to them. Because statistically, over 50% of the marriage cases are deemed to be fraudulent. One way they do that, they separate the parties in separate rooms. And if they really, they're pretty good, I am too for that matter, looking at individuals and being able to detect whether it's a bona fide relationship. But if they suspect one, they tell, normally the U.S. citizen, they walk in, they say, he's already told us that it was your idea, and he's bargaining with us, so you're the one that's going to jail. And if it is a fraudulent marriage, that U.S. citizen who did it for a little money or as a favor, they flip almost immediately, saying, no, it was his idea, not my idea. So it's pretty easy to bust. I always like to say this to people so they won't, one of you out there will not ever be tempted to do something like that. One more thing. And again, a director takes artistic liberties. There would have been a second interview. That first interview, when they made a finding of marriage fraud under Section 406, created a permanent bar. They don't say, nice try, come back and try it again. No. You were barred permanently after that. So I'm going to conclude on that and just say to Director Liang, Wendy, it's been a pleasure to have this opportunity to speak with you.
Mr. Foster 呢是评价了小雪这个人物。首先，这个人他来的时候，他说是被中介骗了，被弄了一个野鸡大学，被 FBI 查封了，所以他的学生签证也就没了。那么你以后再要申请什么这个结婚绿卡什么，就只要审查的更加严格。然后这个剧情里边的移民官来审查他们的这个卧室。By the way, let's give applause to Leighton for being a great actor, immigration officer. 所以就这种事情确实会发生，但是现在其实发生频率不是那么高，因为很多时候这些移民的这些官员，包括 Mr. Foster 自己在内，他也承认，其实是非常精明的，他们其实可以从很多其他的细节来判断你这个结婚是真的还是假的。而且呢，就像刚才他透露，我也很吃惊，他说其实这个50%以上的这种移民结婚绿卡都是有造假成分的。所以在这些人去面试的时候，他们就已经假设你是在撒谎了。一个方法就是把这男的跟女的分开问，就跟一个人说，那边那个已经招了。他说是你的主意，然后你要去坐牢，他就不坐牢了。如果是假的结婚的话，那这边这个马上就翻供了，就是说不是他的主意，他是坐牢的。而且这个剧中因为剧情需要嘛，因为林肯喜欢上这个人，希望多跟他待一会儿，所以因为剧情需要说再申请一次，但是现实生活中是没有再申请一次的。如果说你的这个被拒了，就是说你是假的，你不可能说是继续装，对不对？所以非常感谢 Mr. Foster 今天给我们的分享。Thank you, Mr. Foster, for sharing all of your insights.
最后一句说了，希望大家就不要干这样的事儿。
谢谢陈烨女士，对我们陈烨也是非常优秀的演员，《火烧圆明园》的女主角，也是 Charles Foster 的夫人。那么刚才 Charles 补充了一句。这是坏事，我们不当坏人，不要去做这样的事情，好不好？Thank you, everybody.